and welcome to Kaohsiung for the 2013 Modern Pentathlon World Championships. Well, it's been a great championship so far for Lithuania, getting gold in both the men's and women's individual events. Well, it's now time for the mixed relay, and I'm delighted to be joined by the 2008 Beijing Modern Pentathlon silver medalist, Clouvel.
Good afternoon.
Well, it's been a fantastic championships for Lithuania. No Lithuanian team competing in the mixed event, but just a competitor, a former competitor. I mean, how interesting has it been, the mixed event for you? Is it time to relax, or is it taken very seriously, or?
It's interesting. Some countries actually look at it as a potential for another medal, and it's a serious competition. They'll put in their strongest team. Other countries might use it as an opportunity to introduce young athletes to the scene, such as Great Britain here. We've got a team of Samantha Murray, obviously very experienced after her silver medal last summer, but then teamed up with one of our younger athletes, Jo Evans. So, you know, it's a great experience for both of them. I mean,
the British, haven't really taken this event that seriously this season. They didn't compete in the World Cup final. What do you think that is?
It's something that Great Britain have been quite traditional and not necessarily that keen on the idea of this new format. Recently we've started to enter it because it's potentially going to come into the Olympics. That's what the UIPM, the organising body, actually hoping will happen. And as the actual relays, which we stay for, they don't happen until tomorrow. It's a spare day. We've got athletes who want to compete, so it's a great opportunity.
Exactly, and a good French team here as well. I mean, Elodie Clouvel performed very well on the women's event. Her compatriot there, Valentin, Belaud, very young Frenchman again.
It is all just another time for the athletes can relax a bit more. They can maybe, they made mistakes in the individual event, they have a chance to practice something different, put things right, and go and have another shot at a medal.
A good result for the Americans in the fencing. Margot Isaacson perhaps didn't have quite the result she'd have wanted in the women's individual, but
she was very disappointed yesterday. So I know that she's quite happy to be able to move on the very next day and hopefully put that behind her.
They're doing well so far.
And often, especially in the boys, when there's even more athletes in the semi-finals, they might not get to ride. So this is a good opportunity. It's a direct final, so all of these athletes know that they'll actually get an opportunity to have a go at the riding today.
The Polish pair. And also, what is good about the mixed event, it does give some of the nations which perhaps aren't as strong in individual events a chance to shine. I mean, such as Poland. I mean, Poland have been pretty consistent this season in the mixed events, though haven't had the results perhaps they would have wanted in the individual events.
Yes, and also some countries can't enter the full relays, which is when it's three girls one day and 3 boys the next day, because they don't actually have enough athletes at that level. Whereas here, most countries actually do have the strength.
Obviously, team, the Latvians who won the fencing, Elodie Rublievska and Denis Tchaikovskis, just 8 losses. I mean, they showed absolute phenomenal form. Tchaikovskis are losing just 3 bouts here, and they really are. Well, fencing obviously is their strong point, and they're the reigning World Cup champions from Nizhny Novgorod.
They are, and I mean, fencing is their strongest event, so they need to be right up there to put themselves in contention, and well, they've done that this morning.
Yeah! Yeah!
Plenty of emotion there from Denis Tchaikovskis.
It seems no more emotions after this 2 tough days. Is it really so?
No, it's not. It's still emotion after, we showed this, I would say, nice results for both of us. We fenced good, we fenced as a team, and we are still under something.
Good fencing as usual. And what's your next step today?
Next step is swimming. It's not such a good as our fencing, but we hope we will stay on our place, and we'll see what will be at the end.
Do you have any predictions?
No any prediction. In pentathlon we can't say nothing, I think. But I hope, we have some hope.
But before last shooting?
Yeah. After the last shot, the shooting will be more or less understandable.
Okay, thanks so much. Good luck.
Thank you.
So, just confirmation of the results after fencing. Denis Tchaikovskis and Elodie Rublievska way out in front with 30 victories and their 38 bouts. Results for the Polish duo. Belaud and Tymoshenko there or thereabouts as well. 20 teams competing all in all. Disappointment for Russians though, Savchenko and Kuznetsov way down in 14th place. And we can pick up the action from the swimming pool. So, I mean, as an athlete, obviously you're used to swimming 200 meters. Does the shortened distance hinder or help you?
It's actually quite nice. I was chatting to Samantha Murray earlier after her swim, and she's saying that it's lovely to get the chance to do 100 meters because you don't have to think about it. You get in and you swim as hard as you can for those two lengths. There's not really any pacing involved. And also some athletes, it's a chance to get a good time. If you're training well, it's another event to post a personal best on.
This is the third of the fourth heats. Some strong teams here. I mean, we were just mentioning about the French team. British team as well. I mean, Clouvel and Tymoshenko from Ukraine certainly have been there or thereabouts in both the individual and the relays. But a lot of teams resting their biggest stars.
It's difficult to tell, really. I mean, it's the end of the season, so some athletes who maybe wouldn't have done it will think, well, why not? I've got nothing else to rest for afterwards. But then some of the countries might decide that the other relays that are following are more important to them. So there's a real mixture of where the strongest teams will be.
Oh, this is see another match-up between Elodie Clouvel and Samantha Murray.
Yes, this should be a good race. I think the British are a very strong pairing, as are the French. So it'll be interesting to see if there'll be a repeat of the women's final.
I can see Clouvel and Murray way out in front. So hit the turn at 50 metres. Just really playing catch up, and it was Clouvel who would pass over first to her colleague, Valentin Belaud.
Now, Joe will actually have the advantage here because he didn't compete in the men's final yesterday, whereas Valentin will be pretty tired after that full-on day.
And Joe actually got the touchdown for first place. Good time. I'm a British duo. French still going well.
It was two very tough days. How are your conditions and feelings at the moment?
For my moment, fencing is okay, and good swimming. The English team is very good swimmer, and after I go to riding. For today, it's another day.
And now just concentrate for the riding on after combine. Oh, just fun.
So just confirmation of the results of the first two events. Latvia still in the lead. The Americans moving up into second place. French in third. Great Britain in fourth and Ukraine in fifth. So still plenty to play for. So we go into the riding.
So we're down at the stables, and you might be wondering why on earth we're here with the horses today. There's been a rule change, and actually today the two athletes in the relay competition are going to be sharing their horse. So it's going to actually make things a little bit different for our athletes, and they're going to just have the one horse between them. So one of the challenges for the pentathlete is having a very short time to get to know the horse. I'm quite lucky that I was brought up with horses. It's an easier part for me, and some of the athletes will have only learned to ride in the last few years. And actually, people joke, do you give your horse a polo? But there is a big part of bonding with the horse, and it really helps. You've only got that very short time to get to know it and get a good relationship together. So the challenge for modern pentathletes usually is getting to know their horse in the 20 minutes they have. Today, there's a new challenge because it's only one horse for the two athletes. And one of the difficult parts is going to be the stirrups. You have 20 minutes to adjust everything, make sure that it's right for you as the athlete. But today, sharing, one of the problems will be that the stirrup length. They will have to swap, and then after each rider will have to change the stirrup and make different lengths. So you have to, in very short time, make your stirrups for your partner to a different length and the other side. And then it is time to get on your horse.
Well, thanks Emma for that. Very informative as always. It's confirmation again of the results after the first two events. We've talked about the heavy workload of the athletes, but what about the horses? I mean, they've been having to ride and ride and ride.
This has been something that's had a lot of discussion amongst the coaches and the athletes over the last couple of days, and I know there's quite a few people who are maybe not too happy about this. And these horses apparently today, if they do their allocated practice fences and their jumps in there, will have to jump another 40 fences in just one day, having already completed. Some of them will have completed 4 rounds yesterday, and it is too much. I mean, the fences have been put down a little bit more, and you know, the course is quite straightforward for the relay today, but it is something that the horses would not normally be expected to go this many times.
Absolutely. I mean, Clay, the horse, sort of silver horse, grey horse, who's getting to know you quite well. I mean, I think he rode 4 rounds yesterday, and he's gone again today. I mean, it's just. I
mean, he looked amazingly well, I was pleased to say, but you know, it's got to be a lot of stress on the horses. It's so hot and humid out here as well.
Especially with the weather today, unfortunately, we've had a return of the rain, so the typhoon hasn't completely gone away. But it's certainly, I mean, this is the most muggy day we've had in quite a while.
It really is, and I mean, the horses don't have any air conditioning in their stables, and you know, it's very difficult for them, I'm sure, and it'll be interesting to see what happens the next couple of days.
Anna Savchenko, Maxim Kuznetsov of Russia, way down in 15th place, partly due to a relatively poor fence by Russian standards. I mean, we've seen, unfortunately, some pretty woeful riding earlier in the competition. And you just really have to think, I mean, it's pretty unfair on the horses.
And this is the problem that you get sometimes with the relay, because many of these athletes do not actually reach finals themselves on an individual basis, so they don't actually get to compete at this standard at a World Championships. And you know, maybe at their regional level, the competition and the riding will be easier, and they'll come here and it's just, you know, they're a little bit out of their depth, to be honest.
Savchenko, some improvement of things. It's one knockdown for her so far. In fact, it's a husband and wife team. Savchenko gets ready to hand over to her husband, Maxim Kuznetsov. Changing the stirrups here, the length.
This is interesting to see. As you can see that maybe she rode a little bit longer than she might have liked, and he's riding a little bit shorter, and they've compromised on the stirrup length. They could, because the clock is not stopping in between, so it's up to them whether they think that they can ride efficiently and well enough at that adjusted stirrup length.
So you can see how Kuznetsov gets on, fight all the Russians, but we don't have any more knockdowns if they want to try and get back into contention.
And there should actually be an advantage today. They've kept it to the usual format that the bottom 10 teams will be riding in the first round, and then the top 10 teams after these first 2 events we had this morning will be riding the second round. So the horses will be even more fatigued by the time those top athletes get to ride them.
It's a good round so far by the Russians. It's absolutely clattered into that fence. And again, ruining what was actually a very good round. Just got his stride pattern all wrong.
Yeah, he got in completely too close to that one, and probably slightly unbalanced himself coming into the last.
1 minute and 38 seconds.
He's just getting back on there, because you have to have one athlete on the horse to lead the arena. And whether they'll be penalised for that, I don't know.
Total points.
Well, this looks to have been penalised at the moment as Savchenko and Kuznetsov depart.
You'll have noticed then as well, when the athletes got off and in their change area, they were joined by their coach. And that's something that in a normal relay, the coach is not allowed into the arena, but because of this change of format today with just the one shared horse, they've actually allowed a coach into the arena in order to help them maybe change their stirrups and help them get on and off the horse.
Right, so 3 knockdowns for the Russians. The best results so far. I mean, we saw Kyrgyzstan and Brazil both suffer a number of refusals. Chinese Taipei went around the course in around 3 minutes or so. Very, very slow time for them. I mean, we've seen some of these lesser nations like Chinese Taipei. I don't mean to pick on them, or Kyrgyzstan. Do you think it's good to have these nations? I mean, it's like a proverbial thing in sport. I mean, you have the minnows. Is it good to try and get them to compete amongst the best, or do you think they'd be better off served in competing in more regional championships?
It's very difficult, and I mean, my opinion, I think it's a fine line. You don't want to actually put those young athletes on such a big stage and ruin their confidence, because they're so far off the mark that it must be hard for them to imagine actually ever being up with these top athletes. But then on the other hand, you know, it's an amazing opportunity for them. And in a competition like this, the home crowd were loving the fact that they had some athletes to follow. And they didn't seem too fussed that they weren't, maybe performing to any standard.
Well, absolutely. I mean, today we've had the biggest crowd so far of the championship. It's so good to see actually the locals getting behind, not just Chinese Taipei, but they've been very enthusiastic all round. I mean, cheering pretty much when anyone has cleared a fence.
I think that could be partly because there hasn't actually been that many horses clear over the fences, so they're still very enthusiastic at this stage. But I am hoping, as the day goes on, we will have some more clear rounds, and they'll have plenty to clap about.
But certainly it helps to get the local population involved in modern pentathlon, to teach them what modern pentathlon is all about, because it's a sport which I presume isn't very well developed here locally.
I think this is one of the reasons for holding a competition out here, is to introduce our sport to more countries. And you know, it is a global sport. We are an Olympic sport, but every Olympic cycle we have to prove our worth in the Olympics, and having more countries competing, more countries hosting, it's only hopefully going to strengthen our cause.
It's for Mexicans. On the course at the moment, Tamara Vega. A few problems. Gets ready to hand over. Partner.
It's interesting here,
Ortega.
watching the riders. Usually you'll get off on the left-hand side, the near side of the horse. But as you can see, they're having to change their stirrups. Obviously, he's got much longer legs than her, and they can go with that. But she got off on the other side.
Actually, they did stop the clock, I think, to let them change the stirrups.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't realise maybe there's a very short time limit that they have. Some athletes are choosing not to risk getting over that time.
But I think in this situation, they had no other option. Just, I mean, you can see quite clearly the height difference between the two. I mean, it must be 30 to 40 centimetres. Ortega, very well so far. He's holding the reins quite high. See, well, he was just a minute ago. It's a nice clearance.
Got completely left behind there. He's lost one stirrup already. Maybe he thought he was going to be changing riders again.
Team Mexico, 墨西哥队完成时间 time 2 minutes and 6 seconds， 2分06秒。Riding points， 马术成绩 988 988分。Total points， 总分 3,000.
Yeah, you can see the height difference quite clearly there.
Couldn't have used the same stirrup length, I don't think.
So.
But maybe some of the stronger riders, it's not so important to have the exact, their perfect length, and they might choose just to both compromise slightly and go with the same stirrup.
And now we welcome the team number 11 from Czech Republic. David Clouvel and Barbara Kovetova were riding on the horse number 4.
athletes, it's quite strange walking into the arena to start your competition. It's something that they won't have done before. Years ago, before I actually started competing, they did occasionally do this format, but that was for the same-sex relay, so 3 girls, 3 boys could share 1 horse. So that would involve even more changing. So maybe there might be one of the 2 of the more senior athletes who remember this.
Yeah, but it almost does seem incredible, really. It's such a high-profile event to have just one horse per team. But then again, it's have been quite difficult circumstances. Quite a few difficult circumstances we were talking about. I mean, yesterday, for instance, having the men's and women's individual on the same day. Not often you would have that, but yeah, I mean, you could write a book about this for problems that I've had.
And I'm sure the organisers are going to need a week to recover once this competition's over, because they've had difficulty after difficulty that they've had to adapt to.
It's a good ride so far by the Czech Republic.
One of the best rounds we've seen so far.
Well, horse Gladstone. As you can see, I think that's David Kindle going first. I think it's normally the girl goes first. Or?
I think for the relay, for the riding side, you just have to state who's riding first. Because quite often the standard of your athletes could be very different, and you might want to put your weaker rider first if they're more nervous, so that they come in and get on straight to the fence. The other theory could be put your stronger rider first, and then your weaker rider, if they don't get as far, you accumulate points for the jumps that you've already cleared. So there will be some reasoning behind the order that the athletes are riding.
It's a very good ride by David Kindle, a very rear clear round, well, half a clear round. You can see how Patriot Barbara Budedova gets on. Nice ride so far. Change of a course today.
Yes, they usually do change the format completely for the relay. As you can see, there's no actual related combination, so there's not a double combination, there's not a triple. Every fence is individual, so if they have a problem at one fence, then it's not related to the next one, which makes the riding course easier today. And that is the idea, to encourage, well,
excellent ride. Yeah, absolutely. Singer. A rarity today. But, the Czech Republic were first to go clear, and certainly will have boosted their chances of trying to get to the podium finish.
1 minute and 44 seconds.
Out in first place. Germany and Argentina. 9 more riders to go. Up next to Belarus.
Oh, they had just one time fault then.
Oh.
1 second over. That was 4 points they lost. So very close. So I'd be a little frustrated with that, because it was a very nice round to watch.
Right, so up next are Belarus, not Belgium, as the caption says.
As you can see here, that horse would not normally be that colour. He is very hot. He is absolutely covered in sweat, so that just proves the humidity levels that the athletes and the horses have got to contend with.
Yeah, certainly the stormy weather today. I mean, we've had some rain already. Very, very muggy. I mean, it's quite difficult, really. I mean, just by taking a horse there, you can probably try to get an understanding just how hot or how humid it is here. Well, Belarus is set up next. In fact, Hanna Vasilionak, who's riding with Pavel Tsikanu. Vasilionak actually won along with Roman Pinchuk in Chengdu in the mixed events. Riding Xiaobai. Standard has been set by the Czech Republic. Just picked up those 4 time penalties. Thankfully, as this event does go on, we're seeing a much higher standard of riding.
Yes, and we should, in theory, because as the athletes, you know, the scores are higher as they're coming in now, so it's the stronger athletes who will hopefully have actually competed in some individual finals and have experienced riding at, you know, senior international level.
Off the stride pattern, completely wrong there.
Yeah, this horse is looking quite strong for her, and she's just struggling to get him back under control.
Again, really fighting with the horse. Silionok managing to get around the horse, around the course, I should say.
It's interesting to see they've not chosen to bring a coach in to the arena with them. They're just, one's doing one stirrup and the other one's adjusting the other. Good team effort here.
So it's going to be the turn of Pavel Sukanu.
Just getting his feet in his stirrups there. You want to make sure you're properly organised before approaching that first fence. Deciding to do a circle first, still inside the time that they've been allocated for the changeover.
Like a solid ride so far.
They need to be careful today. It's going to be quite slippery out there, so these corners far too fast for my liking.
Yes.
But it's not
horse on a mission.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just careful on this corner here. You can see the mud
Yeah.
flying around, and he just
Got
decided that it was
tight.
going to be too tight a corner to head inside that fence, and it wasn't needed because they're going to be easily inside the time.
Shame. So, 80 penalty points for Belarus.
Team Belarus by
Try and have a cold shower as soon as possible.
1 minute.
I'm sure it wants to, and unfortunately, it's going to have to do another round.
马术成绩1120, 1120分 total points.
No, I lie. We're on to the second round, so luckily for that horse, he's done for the day.
Go back to the stables and... Oh, maybe I'll have a polo.
So some of these horses, by the time the second rider rides in this round, they will actually have been around this course 4 times. That, in some ways, could be an advantage. Horses do get used to fences, but sometimes a horse can become stale as well. And as we mentioned earlier, if they're really tired, that could become a factor. That horse we just watched, obviously he wasn't tired. He was still
he was
eager to go. Yeah. And maybe a little too much so. And again, that can be an effect on some horses. The more often they ride a course, they think they know where they're going, and they'll actually get stronger.
Right, so next up, Korea. Jinhwa Jung, who's competing in the individual events today for the men, and So Jin Yang riding Chico, a horse we saw in the individual events yesterday. And you've got to feel sorry, I think, perhaps for the women. I mean, they've competed, some of these women have been competing 5 days in a row.
I know, and I was actually having a chat to Margaret Isaacson, the American, and she said that she might even end up competing in the women's relay, and that would be
7 days.
Yeah.
So 6 days.
Six days, isn't it? But quite a challenge for her, and it's a good thing. It is the end of the season, so the athletes after this competition will all be having a nice long break and have time to reflect on the year, and also this interesting end to the season.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously coming to the end of the season, I mean, how long will some of the athletes take off? For instance, when you were competing, I mean, what would be your schedule?
It really does vary, and as often, you know, individual athletes can have a little bit of a say. Some don't like to have too long a break because, you know, it takes them a lot of effort to get back to the shape they were in. Also, if maybe athletes have been injured throughout the season and have had to, you know, had an enforced break, they might feel that, well, they've done all the hard work to get back. They might just have a week off. Whereas some might decide, oh, they want to, you know, do a little bit of travelling and take a month or so. And also the option of doing some cross training. So maybe some of the athletes, I know the British boys do a little bit of cycling. And there's other sports you can do to keep your aerobic fitness, but, you know, letting your mind just completely refresh.
Yeah. Lots of Koreans just ready to get underway.
You can see there, the horse just lost his hind leg slightly. It's proving how slippery this course is today.
Yeah, that rain just coming really at the wrong time. It had been a lovely morning, but literally about a half an hour or an hour before the riding, the heavens opened again. Nothing like the torrential rain which we had on Friday.
No, we haven't got the winds here today. It's just incredibly muggy.
Just clip that fence, but just stay on. Getting very tight in.
As I mentioned earlier, with these fences, if you get slightly wrong, you get away with it.
It's the second time, isn't it? It's the second time I've had a problem with that fence, getting the line all wrong.
Well, it's the option the athletes have there. We'll see what her teammate does when he gets off the fence.
So, Su Jinyang handing over to Jinhua Jung.
They're choosing to use a coach, changing one stirrup and the girls changing the other, and that's a very efficient change over there.
Pit stops in Formula One.
It is. We can learn a little from that, I think. A bit more than the second they managed to change 4 wheels.
The horse there really working hard. Koreans have generally been very good riders on the World Cup circuit this year.
They're having a nice round so far. It'll be interesting the next couple of corners that they've got.
Just clips that fence, but just stay on.
So after this fence here, they do have an option of going around the orange fence or inside. It'll be interesting to see. He's choosing to go inside, but was controlled enough, so there was no slipping on that corner.
Yep. Oh, shame. Have been a very good ride by the Koreans.
Just got in a little bit too close to that last fence there.
And 80 penalty points
Team Korea
for Su Jinyang and Jinhua Jung. So moving into the top 6 now. And Katarina Wojcik and Bartosz Wachewski of Poland. Have a go trying to pronounce those names.
Katarina Wojcik, I've known her for years actually, competed with her at junior level. But, and she's competing with, I might leave Bartosz to you.
Okay. But it's what I was talking about earlier. I mean, it's great to see the likes of Poland doing so well in the mixed event, because I mean they really haven't managed to break into top 10s in the individual events.
It's really funny how it comes and goes for different countries. Because when I started at senior level, Poland were the team to beat. Every competition they had 4 girls in the final without fail, and there was quite a few of those athletes were a lot older. There was one athlete who didn't retire until age 40. Adita, and she was one of the main contenders of their team, and there was suddenly quite a few of them retired in quick succession, and it's been left with a little thin on the ground in the Polish women's team.
It's like the French, for instance. I mean, the French really, especially the men's, I mean, we've got so many athletes coming through, like Pat, Prad, Belaud, who's competing today. So really, yeah, just a generational thing. I mean, the Italians as well have got quite a lot of young athletes coming through as well. Katarina Wojcik.
There we saw, that's a real example of the slippery conditions. The horse, she just asked for it to take off stride too soon, and he wasn't quite sure that he wanted to go. Tested, put the brakes on, and slid into the fence and just knocked that pole down. For her, actually, the fact that she knocked the pole down makes no difference, and will, in hindsight, help because the clock has been stopped. So it counts as just one knockdown. Penalty points.
Second time clearly over. So, I mean, when you were competing with Wojcik, what were her strengths?
I do remember having a battle with her on the running course, but that was when I first started running. Definitely, wasn't one of my stronger events. But saying that, I think she's improved in her run as well since then. So she's very athletic. She's a left-handed fencer, which always makes it's a little bit more difficult for the traditional right-handed fencers to compete against.
It's been a good ride so far. Moving into this final fence. Oh, again, we saw the slippery ground.
Yeah, it's interesting. The horse might have slightly lost its confidence. I saw when I was down at the stables earlier, they were actually putting the blacksmith was there, the farrier, putting studs in their back shoes, which will help massively with the grip on this ground. And but still, the horse there is having a little break himself, having a mouthful of grass. But that should hopefully help on the corners. But obviously, as the day goes on, more rounds, and the corners are getting that little bit more slippery each time.
So yeah, absolutely. With what we were saying earlier, I mean, with those nations which were going perhaps a little earlier on, might have actually had quite a significant advantage. It's, of course, definitely becoming more slippery. It's Bartosz Legiewski on melee. It's Katarina Wojcik.
He's just riding that bit stronger. You can see he's got his leg on nice and firmly. And he's seen the mistake that his teammate made, and he's probably learned from that not to give this horse the benefit of the doubt. He's got to ride the whole way to the fence and over the fence.
So just 2 more fences to go.
This last fence, he'll be very conscious that last time round Katarina had a stop here. Didn't use that to his advantage.
Would have been in a perfect position to see.
And it's not as though last time Katarina managed to change her mistake and got over it. So it isn't as though the horse has not cleared the fence since. But as you see, he's got loose reins there. He dropped his reins just before the fence, as though almost he was worried that might happen.
Second time, and 120 penalty points in knockdowns for the Polish. See if they pick up any time penalties as well.
Team Poland, Poland队, time 完成时间 1 minute and 55 seconds. 1分55秒. Riding points. 马术成绩
time penalty points.
1032 分. Total points.
Going down the standings. 4 nations to go. Really getting to the business end of this tournament now. Ukraine up next with Irina Hakhlova and Pavel Tymoshenko. Tymoshenko yesterday had an absolute nightmare in the riding, picked up 200 penalty points. Also had a few problems as well.
He might well be looking forward to competing today and put that ride behind him. That can be the thing at the end of the season. You want to finish everything on a good note as much as you can. So he'll be hoping to end his season on a nice, strong ride.
Both Tymoshenko and Hakhlova have done well this season, especially Tymoshenko. I mean, he won the men's individual events in Chengdu. Hakhlova has been around the top 10 on a number of occasions. Certainly looking towards the women's event. I mean, Ukraine are going to be quite a team to beat. I mean, with Zhanna Buryak, Victoria Tereshchuk, and Hakhlova, she decides to compete again.
Yeah, they might have decided to put their emphasis on the individual, well, not the individual relays, but the same-sex relays.
Not to mention, and it's Bus as well, but one of the rising stars of Pentathlon. So
yes, I mean they're lucky that they have the choice. They can enter. They've got enough athletes to enter both the mixed relay and the same-sex relays without having to get any athletes competing in both. So they've got that on their side.
The same-sex relays taking place on Monday and Tuesday, but it's a mixed event which we're interested in today. Selina Clouvel and Timoshenko will get us underway. See how he gets on today after that disastrous round yesterday. Jinshin, the horse. Might be wrong, but I've got a feeling it was also rode last time.
Well, hopefully he learned from his mistakes and knows what to do today. Interesting they put him on first. Maybe to use the momentum having come straight from the warm-up arena. If he's the weaker of the duo after yesterday.
That's clearance. It's definitely going better for Timoshenko.
Choosing to go round.
Yeah, the longer
orange
way.
fence, yes. Just you can look at it either way. That you can keep a better rhythm without having to slow down as much, but then you could also, if you cut inside, you can use that corner to really bring the horse back.
Shame for Timoshenko, had been a very good ride for the Ukrainian. So he hands over to Clouvel. Trim the stirrups.
No, they've decided to get the athletes on the horse first, and now they're adjusting the stirrups, because I don't think anyone could share stirrups with Timoshenko with the legs that long.
Yeah.
It would, I think it would be a version of bareback.
Yes, we can.
For Clouvel otherwise.
Which taking the horse. It's ready to go again. Selina Clouvel on the second leg.
Got in a bit close, but it's quite a short striding. It's a smaller horse, this one, and he managed to put that extra stride in without a problem.
Ukraine came into this competition, into this round, in 5th place. Still relatively tight.
Just touched that with his back legs there, but didn't fall out of the cups. They're going to be easily inside the time if they clear this last fence.
Excellent. Ooh, lucky, got lucky, but good ride by Ukraine. Clouvel giving Jinshin a well-deserved pat on the neck, showing her appreciation. I mean, do horses pick up on things like this? I mean, just...
there's no actual scientific evidence to it, but you're showing your appreciation. It's the mannerisms towards your horse, and it certainly will know if it's being told off or if it's being appreciated. And it's something that being from the horsey background, I like to see that the horse's efforts are appreciated, especially in these conditions.
Yeah, so it's certainly been made to work over the last few days. Right, next.
And now we welcome team number 13 from Kazakhstan, Yulia Kolenkova, Pavel Ilyashenko. We're riding on the horse number 33 with Zolmia.
Well, this is an interesting pairing which we won't have seen before, as Kolegova has not so long been associated with Kazakhstan.
Yes, one of a number of Russians who've decided to apply their trades for Kazakhstan.
Well, I first knew her as a Lithuanian, so she's obviously not quite sure of her allegiances.
Yeah. But it's actually something that's happened a lot with sport in Kazakhstan. I mean, especially with tennis. I mean, they've brought up a lot of Russian athletes who can't actually get into the Russian team But really, Kazakhstan have a lot of money to spend when it comes to sport and really want to improve their sporting infrastructure by getting in top athletes or decent athletes to try and help develop. And I don't think modern pentathlon was very developed in Kazakhstan.
And Yulia wouldn't have, had the opportunity to compete in the mixed relay if she was still competing for Russia, because they've got so many strong athletes here. And this horse is just struggling to keep it under control, and it's a little bit worrying on these slippery corners that she's just getting too fast, and got away with it on that fence. But just couldn't make that corner.
Yeah.
And that, even though the horse didn't directly stop at the fence, she will have circled, so that counts as a refusal.
It's been around for quite some while, Yulia Kaliagova.
Even struggling there to stop the horse in the transition area.
Hasn't really had much success in her career. She hands over to her compatriot, Pavel Ilyashenko.
I'm surprised to see them so high up the rankings, but
six out of fencing, 9th in the swimming.
But it's actually just interesting to note that they have, for some reason, gone out of order here. So they're not in the top few teams. They're actually, before the riding,
They were in 8th
ranked
place.
in 8th position. So
After Ukraine.
there might have been some issue with in the warm-up arena or something that they had to have that little bit of extra time, or I'm not quite sure, but yeah, they're not in 4th position as it might have looked.
20 penalty points so far. Opting for the long way round that orange fence. Again, hitting the line. All long, but just managing to get up that final fence. Since our horse wanted to go around again, but it's the end of a riding for Kazakhstan. 160.
完成时间 1 minute and 53 seconds. 1分53秒. Riding points.
And they did well down the standings.
1,1000 分. Total points.
So just 4 more nations to go.
3,216 分.
Great Britain up next. Sam Murray and Joseph Evans. I know Joe was quite disappointed not to make the men's final.
He was so close. I've was speaking to Jan Barty, the performance director, who said it actually was the equivalent of 1 shot missed in the shooting. Sometimes an athlete doesn't want to know that.
No.
But he is so early in his career that it will all be learning for him at this stage, and he's got another chance to compete today.
I mean, as with the British, say, just take the British men, do you think it really helps them that they have a lot of young guys who are just really starting out their careers?
Very much so. I mean, for years there were no athletes coming through, and I think it's interesting, even though the senior athletes are still the same pairing. Sort of Nick and Sam have been at the top of the tree for many years now, but actually as a result, you're seeing them pushed, and they're performing the best that they've ever performed. So it's a really healthy situation in the men's pentathlon at the moment in Great Britain. It's something that's quite refreshing to see.
So Sam's got a fairly lively horse.
She has went on a long stride there and just rattled the rail, but it didn't move, so all good so far.
Did well, good recovery there.
She's working hard out here.
An excellent ride by Samantha Murray. Goes clear with half the course remaining.
That's a team effort for some quick stroke
Similar
changing.
height.
I expect Joe's got slightly longer legs there. And they've decided, you've got this allocated time for the changeover, that it's better to be properly comfortable and prepared before starting your round.
So Joe Evans.
You can see Sam just said a few words to Joe. She would have given feedback from her round and hopefully help Joe know what to expect as he heads out.
Disappointing. Stride pattern there.
Just got lazy with his back leg slightly on that spread, but went on a longer stride, and that spread fence over there cleared it nicely. You can actually hear Sam. She's kind of talking to Joe as he goes past.
So Sam, more experienced of the two.
Well, Joe's actually ridden, I think, for many years, but not at senior
Such
international
high level,
competitions.
So just his final bits to go. And a very good ride by Joe Evans and Samantha Murray. Just
Very good team effort, and they'll be very happy with that result.
and the benefits of communication between the two riders. High five with the coach.
Actually, Marianne is new to the British team and the coaching setup, only having joined a month or so ago. And he's going to be quite happy with the men's results out here.
3,444 Now we welcome
France up next.
from France, Elodie, Clouvel, and Valentin, Belaud.
Clouvel,
It doesn't surprise me that Elodie is on the horse coming into the arena, because she will be the more nervous of the two French athletes here, and she gained a lot of confidence yesterday, having a perfect round, and you could see how ecstatic she was after it. And I had a quick chat to her today, and she said that she is now much more relaxed after that. So it'll be interesting to see if she's carried over the confidence she gained yesterday and into this round here in the relay.
Nice start. French woman.
She just lost a bit of energy a few strides out, but managed to make up for it and cleared the fence. Going smoothly so far. She just needs to keep her leg on, because at fence 2 it was just a little bit, she backed off the accelerator, so to speak, and again there,
just got lucky.
Needs to keep this moving forwards, and she's breaking into trot, which you lose your rhythm.
Fence to go.
She used that corner well and actually, moved forwards off it, and hopefully again on this corner.
It's one of the horses you got to know during your piece, Clay.
It is well spotted. He was conserving his energy, I think, earlier. He was half asleep, not one bit phased by the cameras.
An excellent ride by Clouvel, whose riding has been excellent so far in this competition. Another clear round for her, but can her compatriot Valentin Belaud follow suit? Very talented French youngster.
You just see then, again, they just slightly lost the stride after fence number 1. This horse similar to Elodie, but it's moving a little bit more forwards now. Getting in a bit close to that one, so had to kick on to reach that second fence, but corrected nicely.
She's turning into a very good round so far. Just 2 more fences to go.
It's interesting, this horse keeps sort of almost skipping behind, and he could be a little bit uncomfortable.
Well, lovely clearance on that final fence. And you can see the jubilation on Elodie Clouvel's face.
What a round for the French. They'll know that that's put them in a good position.
Excellent position.
Irrelevant to what happens in the next 2 rounds, they'll be starting at least in the top 3.
Total points, 总分 3,504 3,504分
Belaud has
Now we welcome team number 19.
really excelled in the juniors.
Michael Isaacson, Nathan Scrimshaw.
The world junior champion last year in Poland.
接下来我们欢迎美国队选手
10th in
将骑乘7号
men's
马
event yesterday. So just 2 more teams to go. Margot Isaacson hails from Arkansas, in the United States, but trained in Colorado Springs, and a lovely personality on the women's team.
She is.
Lovely character.
You
lovely
know where Margot
character.
is. She's certainly one to be heard, and it's very social, which is great to have within the international scene.
She'll have been disappointed yesterday after the...
Oh, I saw that then. She was a bit long. I thought, right, I can go without having another stride, and she should have taken a pause and actually brought the horse back to her and put another stride in, which the horse decided it needed to do anyway, and couldn't quite pick its legs up in time. That was certainly Margot's error, and she'll know that and be quite frustrated with herself.
Yeah, especially after yesterday as well. I mean, she wouldn't have had the individual competition that she'd have wanted, but a good ride there.
Well recovered.
Yep. Just about one mistake.
I think I also had a little chat to Orange earlier in the stables. He was quite a sociable one.
So running over to Nathan Schermischer.
Well, he's a young athlete too. It's his first senior world championships.
Been in the World Juniors last year in Poland. This was 30th. They're really just starting to make his mark on the senior stage. It was 27th in yesterday's men's final, so great to see him getting into the...
I think it's a massive achievement to have reached that final, and that would have been his sort of goal, and he would have taken yesterday as a real learning curve and gone into that event with just absorbing everything, competing against such a strong men's field.
Yeah, but he didn't manage to qualify for a World Cup event this season.
Yeah, I think it was a nice surprise for the American team to have him reach the final.
I was speaking to Margot really about a few months ago. Modern pentathlon in the United States. It's just so good for the Americans if they can have some good riders who are competing for medals, just try and raise the profile. But 2 knockdowns for the USA.
Team United States, 美国队 time 完成时间 1 minute and 49 seconds 1分49秒 Riding points 马术成绩 1096 1096分
Latvia to go.
总分 3408 3400
Interesting to see they actually had a few time penalties as well there.
Yeah, just trying to work that out. Still.
So it's a little bit slower than it might have looked.
So, just Jelena Rublievska and Denis Chukovskis to go. Shame to see no Hungarians in the final. It's very rare to not have a Hungarian team. Adam Marushi and Genushi on 2 events on the women's circuit. But surprisingly, Hungarians not opting to compete.
They seem to have, not be having a strong competition, and maybe they're reserving themselves for the relays tomorrow. I don't know.
Yeah, Adam had a horrible fence yesterday in the men's individual, which put him down in 31st position, and so he tried his best, but couldn't get anywhere near battling for the medals. Rublievska, I mean, both Latvians, such good fences. Really is their strong point. So good when it comes to swimming.
And when it comes to the riding, they've got the pentathlon experience. They've both been competing for so many years that this is the only sort of riding they will know.
Yeah.
And as a result, should be able to adapt quite well. But it's something that Rublievska isn't necessarily natural on the horse, and does often have a few issues, but so far today...
She's so experienced, about 38 years of age, 4 Olympic Games. I don't know how she managed to get over that fence, but she did.
was definitely helped out there by a very genuine horse who seems to. These horses, I am impressed. You know, they're incredibly sweaty and hot, but they're not looking, you know, too tired. They're keen and wanting to go. And yes, they're puffing, but they're obviously very fit for this competition, and hopefully it won't have taken too much out of them.
Oh, it's horse Jack. I can't remember seeing him yesterday. I might be wrong.
He might be a new one they've managed to bring in, but can't claim to remember all the horses from yesterday.
So, 2 riding events. It was quite a lot. Here's Denis Tchaikovskis, one of the most likeable competitors on the men's circuit.
He really is, and you know all the athletes were like him, and everyone. You know, I don't think I'm wrong in saying that everyone would have been so happy for him when he won a medal earlier this year, because Denis hasn't been on that podium for a long time, and it was a really nice surprise to see him win that silver medal at the World Cup. But then, you know, as you mentioned earlier, these two following that with a gold medal performance at World Cup final.
I spoke to Denis actually in Kremlin Cup in Moscow a couple of months ago, and he was saying, I was asking him, well, are you going to be going to Taipei? And he said, well, don't know if we'll be able to get the funding from the Latvian Federation, but thankfully they've done that. So it's reaping rewards here, and excellent result by the Latvians. No emotion on the face of Rublievska.
That's not so unusual. But as we saw them interviewed after the fencing, Denis is very happy. We saw them interviewed after the fencing, and as Rublievska said, that you know you cannot show emotion until after that final shoot.
Absolutely.
You do not know what's going to happen in the combined event.
But an excellent ride by the Latvians. Gone clear. Don't think they'll pick up any time penalties. And they all start the combined in first place. High fives all round. With Margot Isaacson. Still got enough energy to hurdle the fence. Very pleased for Denis. And hopefully they'll be looking to try and repeat the success of their World Cup final win in Nizhny Novgorod.
I doubt they're going to have the same advantage that they got there from the massive mistake that Russian team made.
Yes.
Miscounting their laps. I think at World Championship level, hopefully we won't see errors like that.
Yeah, of course, I think it's slightly more difficult to make those kind of mistakes.
Good bit of team banter there between Denis and his teammate Elena.
Yep. Right, so we'll just have another look at Denis Tchaikovskis getting over that final fence. Just look at that smile. Excellent by the Latvians. Latvian coach. So just confirmation of the results. Rublievska and Tchaikovskis out in first place with a 18-second lead over Clouvel and Belaud. Sam Murray and Joe Evans just over a half a minute back. Pavlova Timoshenko in fourth, Isaacson and Shrimsha in fifth. So really probably, it's probably about the top five really have got a chance.
Well, it is quite spread out, those first three, and then a little bit closer, but you know, actually with two athletes it means more change can happen in the combined event than we would possibly see in the individual.
I think we can write Kyrgyzstan and Brazil out of proceedings.
Yes, it'll be, you know, I presume that they will set them off at a cap time, because otherwise we'll be here all evening, unfortunately waiting for that team.
Right, so that's all from myself, Richard Van Poortvliet.
And myself, Heather Fell.
So join us shortly for the combined, the final event of this mixed relay. Goodbye for now.
See you shortly.
Technical delegates to the judges, our please. And the judge. 麻烦请所有的马术裁判上来裁判台这边，技术人都要找你们，不知道什么事。马术林根雄秘书长，请回来裁判台，谢谢。马术林根雄秘书长，技术人都要找你。
welcome to Kaohsiung in the southwest of Taiwan for the 2013 Modern Pentathlon World Championships. We'll have the men's and women's individual events on Saturday. Jubilation for Lithuania with Laura Asutaskaitė and Skinderis getting gold. The Baltic nation. Now it's a time of the mixed events, and I'm delighted to be joined by Heather Fell. So Heather, 20 nations competing. What's it like to compete in the mixed event? A more relaxed feeling?
Well, as a British athlete, that's actually how we, in the past, have approached this competition, and it's sort of been an extra bonus. You've made the travel out to the World Championships, and it's another chance to maybe put things right if you had a few errors in the individual, and also it's quite fun to have a team atmosphere. You've competed all day previously in a very individual event, and this is one chance in a sport that's known for being an individual sport. You actually have chance to have a bit of camaraderie between each other, and there you go. See the British team working well together as a team there.
Absolutely. I mean, the British team didn't compete in Nizhny Novgorod in the World Cup final, but I mean, I was speaking to Adam Marosi and Leyla Genesi. Unfortunately, they're not competing today. The Hungarians haven't got a team, but Marosi and Genesi both said on a number of occasions just how much they've enjoyed competing in the team event. They have a ritual before each event of Hakuna Matata. Shad, I'm sure you might have heard that on a few occasions, but certainly, yeah, an event enjoyed by most, and strong French team there with Clouvel and Belaud.
Yeah, they've had great results yesterday. Obviously, Belaud will be a little bit fatigued to having had a really long day competing yesterday, but then also for the women that they've competed 2 days for the semi-final and 2 days for the final. And here's Margot, another athlete who will be on her 5th day of competition.
Might have a 6 coming up in the mixed relay as well, so Margot will certainly be looking forward to her holidays. She decides to take them after this World Championships. But well, Margot will have been disappointed yesterday by her individual event. Very good athlete, very good all-round athlete.
She was, and it was her shooting that let her down. She was, actually managed to come back and finish 8th, but her first shoot, she was still on the range for the full time allowed, and then was out of any contention after that.
Well, great to see some of the more the nations you don't really see in the individual events, like Poland, for instance, doing so well in the mixed events. And that's a great thing. I mean, Latvia as well. It just gives the opportunity for people who don't make the headlines in individuals to have a shot at the big time in the mixed.
Yes, and also for example, Latvia, countries that only have 1 or 2 athletes, male or female, and they don't have enough to make a team for the traditional relay. So it's great that these athletes can compete in this relay format, and certain countries will be taking this very seriously.
Well, just look at the results there for the Latvian team of Denis Čukovskis and Jelena Rublievska, both vastly experienced. 30 victories from the 38 bouts. Very good fencing by both of them. Just as we saw in Nizhny Novgorod, had in the World Cup final, which they won. So the team certainly in form, and we can hopefully hear from them quite shortly. Čukovskis there.
It seems no more emotions after this 2 tough days. Is it really so?
No, it's not. It's still emotion after, we showed this, I would say, nice result for both of us. We fenced good, we fenced as a team, and we are still under something.
Good fencing as usual. And what's your next step today?
Next step is swimming. It's not such a good as our fencing, but we hope we will stay on our place, and we'll see what will be at the end.
Do you have any predictions?
No any prediction. In pentathlon we can't say nothing, I think. But I hope, we have some hope.
But before last shooting.
Yeah. After the last shot, the shooting will be more or less understandable.
Okay, thanks so much. Good luck.
Thank you.
So wise words from 2 vastly experienced campaigners, Rublievska and Čukovskis, and they sit top of the standings after the first events. clear lead really over Poland, but the swimming not the best event for either Wróblewska or Tchaikovsky, so the chance for some of the other nations, especially France and Great Britain, to try and make up some ground. Both have very strong swimmers. We'll get to it in a moment. And we can pick up the action with the penultimate heat. Featuring Latvia, Ukraine, Czech Republic and Poland all in contention. Belarus as well going well. So, swimmers have some 100 meters before they change over. And do you, as a former athlete, did you enjoy the sort of shorter distance?
Definitely. I mean, 100 meters doesn't hurt as much as 200 to start with, and it's an event you can really attack. You don't have to think about it. It's go out there, swim as hard as you can, and some of these athletes will be looking forward to, recording a good time. They'll be in peak fitness at World Championships and maybe a chance to record a personal best time over the 100 meters, which is an event they won't get to swim very often.
Yeah, but I mean, we saw in individual events, I mean, a lot of us was going out very quickly. I mean, they were looking very comfortable. 150 meters, it's that final 50 meters really where you could see them just really struggling and just wanting to get it.
In a 200, it's often those final 30 meters, the wall seems to stay the same distance away from you, and when you're dying, that it feels like an eternity.
That's the final heat of the swimming for the mixed events. And, well, we're going to have another battle between Sam Murray and Elodie Clouvel. I mean, Murray, perhaps a bit surprisingly, won the swimming heats in the women's individual.
I think that the biggest surprise factor in the individual was that it was actually 2 seconds difference. She was 2 seconds quicker than Elodie, and they're usually neck and neck, and I think we might see a closer contest today.
Elodie's got a slight advantage here. She hands over to her compatriots. Valentin Belaud. Joe Evans going for Great Britain.
Yeah, Great Britain have got the advantage here in the fact that Joe, unfortunately for him, didn't make the final, but it's going to be very fresh today.
Joe Evans winning the heats for Great Britain. High fives all round. Still a good time by the French. Be in contention, and we can now hear from Clouvel.
It was two very tough days. How are your conditions and feelings at the moment?
For my moment, fencing is okay, and good swimming. The English team is very good swimmer, and after I go to riding. For today, it's another day.
And now just concentrate for the riding on after combine. Oh, just fun.
So, just confirmation of the results. Despite the swimming not being Wróblewska and Tchaikovsky's best events, they still are in the lead, 16 seconds ahead of Margot Isaacson, Shrimsher of the United States. Russia way down in 15th place after a poor fence between Savchenko and Kuznetsov.
So we're down at the stables, and you might be wondering why on earth we're here with the horses today. There's been a rule change, and actually today the 2 athletes in the relay competition are going to be sharing their horse. So it's going to actually make things a little bit different for our athletes, and they're going to just have the one horse between them. So one of the challenges for the pentathlete is having a very short time to get to know the horse. I'm quite lucky that I was brought up with horses. It's an easier part for me, and some of the athletes will have only learned to ride in the last few years. And actually, people joke, do you give your horse a polo? But there is a big part of bonding with the horse, and it really helps. You've only got that very short time to get to know it and get a good relationship together. So the challenge for modern pentathletes usually is getting to know their horse in the 20 minutes they have. Today, there's a new challenge because it's only one horse for the 2 athletes. And one of the difficult parts is going to be the stirrups. You have 20 minutes to adjust everything, make sure that it's right for you as the athlete. But today, sharing, one of the problems will be that the stirrup length. They will have to swap, and then after each rider will have to change the stirrup and make
different lengths. So you have to, in very short time, make your stirrups for your partner to a different length and the other side. And then it is time to get on your horse.
And now we welcome team number 13 from Kazakhstan, Yulia Kolenkova, Pavel Ilyashenko. We're riding on the horse number 33 with Zomia.
Well, this is an interesting pairing which we won't have seen before, as Kolegova has not so long been associated to Kazakhstan.
Yes, one of a number of Russians who've decided to apply their trades for Kazakhstan.
Well, I first knew her as a Lithuanian, so you know she's obviously not quite sure of her allegiances.
Yeah, but it's actually something that's happened a lot with sport in Kazakhstan. I mean, especially with tennis. I mean, they've bought up a lot of Russian athletes who can't actually get into the Russian team. But really, Kazakhstan have a lot of money to spend when it comes to sport and really want to improve their sporting infrastructure by getting in top athletes or decent athletes to try and help develop. And I don't think modern pentathlon was very developed in Kazakhstan.
And Yulia wouldn't have, had the opportunity to compete in the mixed relay if she was still competing for Russia, because they've got so many strong athletes here. And this horse is just struggling to keep it under control, and it's a little bit worrying on these slippery corners that she's just getting too fast, and got away with it on that fence. But just couldn't make that corner.
Yeah.
And that, even though the horse didn't directly stop at the fence, she will have circled, so that counts as a refusal.
It's been around for quite some while, Yulia Kaliagova.
Even struggling there to stop the horse in the transition area.
Hasn't really had much success in her career. She hands over to her compatriot, Pavel Ilyashenko.
I'm surprised to see them so high up the rankings, but decent fence between the pair.
Yeah, six after fencing, 9th in the swimming.
But it's actually just interesting to note that they have, for some reason, gone out of order here. So they're not in the top few teams. They're actually before the riding.
Well, they were in 8th place.
8th position. So
they're going after Ukraine.
There might have been some issue with in the warm-up arena or something that they had to have that little bit of extra time, or not quite sure. But yeah, they're not in 4th position as it might have looked.
120 penalty points so far, opting for the long way around that orange fence. Knockdown. Again, getting the line all wrong, but just about managing to get up that final fence. Since of course wanted to go around again, but it's the end of a riding for Kazakhstan. 160.
完成时间 1 minute and 53 seconds. 1分53秒. Riding points.
And they drop well down the standings.
1,1000 分. Total points.
So just 4 more nations to go.
3,216 分.
And Great Britain up next. Sam Murray and Joseph Evans. I know Joe was quite disappointed not to make the men's final.
He was so close. I've was speaking to Jan Barty, the performance director, who said it actually was the equivalent of 1 shot missed in the shooting. Sometimes an athlete doesn't want to know that.
No.
But he is so early in his career that it'll all be learning for him at this stage, and he's got another chance to compete today.
I mean, as with the British, say, just take the British men, do you think it really helps them that they have a lot of young guys who are just really starting out their careers?
Very much so. I mean, for years there were no athletes coming through, and I think it's interesting, even though the senior athletes are still the same pairing, sort of Nick and Sam have been at the top of the tree for many years now, but actually as a result you're seeing them pushed and they're performing the best that they've ever performed. So it's a really a healthy situation in the men's pentathlon at the moment in Great Britain. It's something that's quite refreshing to see.
So Sam's got a fairly lively horse.
She has went on a long stride there and just rattled the rail, but it didn't move, so all good so far.
Did well, good recovery there.
So she's working hard out here.
And an excellent ride by Samantha Murray. Goes clear with half a course remaining.
That's a team effort for some quick stirrup
Similar
changing.
height.
I expect Joe's got slightly longer legs there. And they've decided, you've got this allocated time for the changeover, that it's better to be properly comfortable and prepared before starting your round.
So Joe Evans.
You can see Sam just said a few words to Joe. She would have given feedback from her round and hopefully help Joe know what to expect as he heads out.
Disappointing. Just got a stride pattern there.
Just got lazy with its back legs slightly on that spread, but went on a longer stride, and that spread fence over there cleared it nicely. You can actually hear Sam. She's kind of talking to Joe as he goes past.
So Sam, more experienced of the two.
Well, Joe's actually ridden, I think, for many years, but not at senior
Such
international
high level,
competitions.
So just his final fence to go. And a very good ride by Joe Evans and Samantha Murray. Just
very good team effort, and they'll be very happy with that result.
And the benefits of communication between the two riders. High five with the coach.
Actually, Marianne is new to the British team and the coaching setup, only having joined a month or so ago. And he's going to be quite happy with the men's results out here.
3,444 Now we welcome
France up next.
Elodie, Clouvel, and Valentin, Belaud.
Clouvel,
It doesn't surprise me that Elodie is on the horse coming into the arena, because she will be the more nervous of the two French athletes here. And she gained a lot of confidence yesterday, having a perfect round, and you could see how ecstatic she was after it. And I had a quick chat to her today, and she said that she is now much more relaxed after that. So it'll be interesting to see if she's carried over the confidence she gained yesterday and into this round here in the relay.
Nice start, French woman.
Well, she just lost a bit of energy a few strides out, but managed to make up for it and cleared the fence. Going smoothly so far. She just needs to keep her leg on, because at fence 2 it was just a little bit, she backed off the accelerator, so to speak, and again
just got lucky.
Needs to keep this moving forward, so she's breaking into trot, which you lose your rhythm.
More fences to go.
She used that corner well and actually moved forwards off it, and hopefully again on this corner.
It's one of the horses you got to know during your piece, Clay.
It is, well spotted. He was conserving his energy, I think, earlier. He was half asleep, not one bit phased by the cameras.
An excellent ride by Clouvel, whose riding has been excellent so far in this competition. Another clear round for her, but can her compatriot Valentin Belaud follow suit? Belaud, very talented French youngster.
You just see then, again, they just slightly lost the stride after fence number 1. This horse similar to Elodie, but it's moving a little bit more forwards now. Getting in a bit close to that one, so had to kick on to reach that second fence, but corrected nicely.
She's turning into a very good round so far. Just 2 more fences to go.
It's interesting, this horse keeps sort of almost skipping behind, and he could be a little bit uncomfortable.
Well, lovely clearance on that final fence. And you can see the jubilation on Elodie Clouvel's face.
What a round for the French. They'll know that that's put them in a good position.
Excellent position.
Irrelevant of what happens in the next 2 rounds, they'll be starting at least in the top 3.
Total points, 总分 3,504, 3,504分。
Belaud has
Now we welcome team number 19.
really excelled in the juniors. The world junior champion last year in Poland. 10th in the men's event yesterday. So just 2 more teams to go. Margot Isaacson hails from Arkansas in the United States, but trains in Colorado Springs, and a lovely personality on the women's scene.
She is.
Lovely character.
You
lovely
know where Margot
character.
is. She's certainly one to be heard, and it's very social, which is great to have within the international scene.
She'll have been disappointed yesterday after the...
Oh, I saw that then. She was a bit long. I thought, right, I can go without having another stride, and she should have taken a pause and actually brought the horse back to her and put another stride in, which the horse decided it needed to do anyway, and couldn't quite pick its legs up in time. That was certainly Margot's error, and she'll know that and be quite frustrated with herself.
Yeah, especially after yesterday as well. I mean, she wouldn't have had the individual competition that she'd have wanted, but a good ride there.
Well recovered.
Yep. Just about one mistake.
I think I also had a little chat to Orange earlier in the stables. He was quite a sociable one.
So handing over to Nathan Schermischer.
Well, he's a young athlete too. It's his first senior world championships.
Been in the World Juniors last year in Poland, was 30th. Yeah, really just starting to make his mark on the senior stage. He was 27th in yesterday's men's final, so great to see him getting into the...
I think it's a massive achievement to have
absolutely.
reached that final, and that would have been his sort of goal, and he would have taken yesterday as a real learning curve and gone into that event with just absorbing everything, competing against such a strong men's field.
Yeah, but he didn't manage to qualify for a World Cup event this season.
Yeah, I think it was a nice surprise for the American team to have him reach the final.
I was speaking to Margot really about a few months ago. Modern pentathlon in the United States. It's just so good for the Americans if they can have some good riders who are competing for medals, just try and raise the profile. But 2 knockdowns for the USA.
Team United States, 美国队 time 完成时间 1 minute and 49 seconds 1分49秒 Riding points 马术成绩 1096 1096分
Latvia to go.
总分 3,408 3400
Interesting to see they actually had a few time penalties as well there.
I was just trying to work that out. Still.
So it's a little bit slower than it might have looked.
So, just Jelena Rublievska and Denis Chukovskis to go. Shame to see no Hungarians in the final. It's very rare to not have a Hungarian team. Adam Marushi and Lili Genushi won 2 events on the women's circuit. But surprisingly, Hungarians not opting to compete.
They seem to have, not be having a strong competition, and maybe they're reserving themselves for the relays tomorrow. I don't know.
Yeah, Adam had a horrible fence yesterday in the men's individual, which put him down in 31st position, and so he tried his best, but couldn't get anywhere near battling for the medals. This is Rublievska. I mean, both Latvians, such good fences. Really is their strong point. Not so good when it comes to the swimming.
And when it comes to the riding, they've got the pentathlon experience. You know, they've both been competing for so many years that you know, this is the only sort of riding they will know.
Yeah.
And as a result, should be able to adapt quite well. But it's something that Rublievska isn't necessarily natural on the horse and does often have a few issues. But so far today,
she's so experienced, though. 38 years of age, 4 Olympic Games. Ooh, I don't know how she managed to get over that fence, but she did. And
she was definitely helped out there by a very genuine horse who seems to. These horses, I am impressed. You know, they're incredibly sweaty and hot, but they're not looking, you know, too tired. They're keen and wanting to go. And yes, they're puffing, but they're obviously very fit for this competition. And hopefully, it won't have taken too much out of them.
Oh, it's horse Jack. I can't remember seeing him yesterday. I might be wrong.
He might be a new one they've managed to bring in, but I can't claim to remember all the horses from yesterday.
So 2 riding events, it was quite a lot. Here's Denis Tchaikovskis, one of the most likeable competitors on the men's circuit.
He really is, and you know, all the athletes were like him, and everyone, you know, I don't think I'm wrong in saying that everyone would have been so happy for him when he won a medal earlier this year, because Denis hasn't been on that podium for a long time, and it was a really nice surprise to see him win that silver medal at the World Cup. But then, you know, as you mentioned earlier, these two following that with a gold medal performance at World Cup final.
I spoke to Denis actually in the Kremlin Cup in Moscow a couple of months ago, and he was saying, I was asking, well, are you going to be going to Taipei? And he said, well, don't know if we'll be able to get the funding from the Latvian Federation, but thankfully they've done that and reaping rewards here, and excellent result by the Latvians. No emotion on the face of Rublievska.
That's not so unusual. But as we saw them interviewed after the fencing, Denis is very happy. We saw them interviewed after the fencing, and as Rublievska said, that you know, you cannot show emotion until after that final shoot.
Absolutely.
You do not know what's going to happen in the combined event.
But an excellent ride by the Latvians. Gone clear. Don't think they'll pick up any time penalties. And they'll start the combined in first place. High fives all round. With Margot Isaacson. Still got enough energy to hurdle the fence. Very pleased for Denis. And hopefully they'll be looking to try and repeat the success of their World Cup final win in Nizhny Novgorod.
I doubt they're going to have the same advantage that they got there from the massive mistake that Russian team made.
Yes.
Miscounting their laps. I think at World Championship level, hopefully we won't see errors like that.
Yeah, of course, I think it's slightly more difficult to make those kind of mistakes.
Good bit of team banter there between Denis and his teammate Elena.
Yep. Right, so we'll just have another look at Denis Tchaikovskis getting over that final fence. Just look at that smile. Excellent. By the Latvians. Latvian coach. So just confirmation of the results. Rublievska and Tchaikovskis out in first place with a 18-second lead over Clouvel and Belaud. The final event of this mixed relay. The Latvian duo, Rublievska and Denis Tchaikovskis, out in front. Lead over the French. Short living here from Klaus Schaumann. President of the Pentathlon Federation. start line, just getting ready. 2 laps each and 2 shoots each. The athletes.
Now we saw earlier, obviously, in the riding that the athletes could choose who went first and second, but the combined event, as the swimming...
It was the most difficult competition for many, many years. I mean, appeals from the athletes, weather, delays, cancellations. What conclusions are you making after this tournament?
First of all, I have to really underline, I'm 1961, first time in a competition as an athlete. And now all the other years we had seen so many competitions, also sometimes with some difficulties. But this time, based on the typhoon and all this rain, I think never a competition was so difficult to finish like it was yesterday as well, to finish the men's side in the normal way, but then also to include the women. But we can say that all the trainers and coaches and the athletes have been willing to assist, to help, to understand the situation, that nobody from us could interfere and change the weather. And so therefore it was enormous work for the volunteers and also for especially for the combined in this fencing hall to build up the fencing range again and put it away for the next competition. So I think it was hard work for everybody who has been involved here, the referees, the technical delegates, the organizing committee, and sure, never to forget the athletes. It was a very heavy time to be always concentrate over a long time with a break. And so I must say thanks to all the athletes, coaches and trainers who have accepted this situation why we could not do anything. And so finally we can say now we are on time. We go ahead now with the relay competitions. We had great winners yesterday for the women and men's side. The right countries winning, different continents. I think at the end we can say we will have a very successful World Championship here in Kaohsiung 2013.
Right, so we're underway with the combined. Yelena Rublievska already heading towards the shooting range. The Clouvel of France just getting underway. Rublievska probably already inside the stadium. Just to remind you that the shooting is taking place indoors because of the inclement weather. Great Britain third to get underway. Rublievska on her way to the shooting station. As you were saying yesterday, it's not only is of course you're having to go upstairs, you're having different surface to run on carpet or concrete or the running track. It's also the light is difficult. It's one of the difficult problems going to the shooting range.
It is. You've got to very quickly adapt your eyes, and something that maybe it looks quite light in there, but it's very different coming from outside straight in. You do have a short, few meters to run before reaching your target, and then you're suddenly focusing on something very close in front of you. And these athletes, we have seen slower times in the shoot, and it's interesting, whether this is because of the light or the fact that it's just something that is so different. The athletes aren't used to experiencing.
Rublievska having a lot of problems on the shoot.
These times are unusually slow at the moment.
Sam Murray going well. And Ukraine getting away, Irina Haklova. Murray also getting her shots away. Isaksen having more problems on the shooting range. Whoa, look at the Czech Republic away in under 9 seconds. I mean, that's probably one of the quickest shoots we've seen in the whole championships. Great shoot there by Barbara Kodedova. So Latvia still in first place. The lead's been cut to 8 seconds.
That was a very slow shoot for Elena Rublievska. Her shooting is normally more reliable than that because running is not one of her strongest events, and she needs the good shoot to keep these other athletes off her heels. They're just reaching the back straight now on the running. So this is the first lap they're completing down the back of the track. And then in a moment it'll come to the twisty section where right now it's quite slippery out there and wet. And the athletes aren't able to run in spikes today due to the fact they have to run up concrete steps, across carpet. So it's almost a bit of a cross-country course for them.
It's Rublievska in the lead. Irina Haklova has moved into second place ahead of Elodie Clouvel. Sam Murray in fourth, making up ground. We're coming to this twisty section. So Rublievska going well so far. Remember, Latvians had an 18-second start, but due to those shooting problems for Rublievska, that lead has been cut, and Clouvel's continuing to make up ground.
She's actually, since leaving the range, been overtaken by the strong runner Margot Isaacson, who had a very poor shoot for her again today in that first shooting phase.
Yeah, you have to feel for Margot. I mean, she's done everything pretty much right in these championships. It's just really bad shooting that has let her down.
That's unusual for her.
Yeah,
as well.
very reliable athlete. It's Rublievska in the lead. Smart commentary position.
You can see, yeah, they're closing on her slowly here.
The advantage of a mixed relay is literally you've got 2 laps where you can go flat out.
Again, yes, it's similar to the swim. It's half the distance that the athletes are used to running and will train for, and it'll suit some people better than others. Some will have more speed, others are better at the longer endurance, 3,200 meters that they'll run in the individual.
So they're up the steps into the shooting range. Just slowing down slightly to try and drop the heart rate.
And you mentioned the lighting in the first instance. It's not the only factor in this these conditions, because it's actually nicely air conditioned inside the shooting hall, but that does mean that it's a sudden shock to the body, because you go into cold, dry air and then come back out again. And the athletes were saying that, she's made up for her poor shoot in the first round there.
By Rublievska, away in under 11 seconds. And St. Murray's going very well, away in under 13.
Great shoot.
as well, off the range. Clouvel having quite a few problems. Margot Isaacson going better. Czech Republic, again, great shooting. But it's Rublievska who's opening up quite a sizable advantage as she goes into the back curve. So just around 400 meters or so for her to go. And St. Murray motors into second place. Past Clouvel, got nothing to lose, his athletes. But it's Rublievska who has quite a sizable advantage at the moment. But St. Murray's doing her best to try and cut the distance down. She moves further and further past Elodie Clouvel. So Clouvel in 4th place, some distance behind. Czech Republic's athletes, Barbara Kodedova and Margot Isaacson also trying to make up ground, but it's Rublievska way out in front at the moment.
The girls just reaching the turns here, and it's when your legs are absolutely knackered. They've run this 1,600 meters very hard, and these corners will take that little bit that they've got left to get round there, and one more corner and it'll be round to the home straight before handing over to their teammates.
So around 100 meters to go for Rublievska until she can hand over to Denis Chukovskis, and a great run by the 38-year-old. Working really hard. And here goes Chukovskis. Going through the tunnel. St. Murray hands over to Joseph Evans. Followed by Valentin Belaud. And a good run by Rublievska. Pavel Timoshenko also getting onto the course. Decent combined. So here's Denis Chukovskis at the shooting range for the first time, using the eye patch.
Yeah, he's got glasses on and attached his eye patch to them, helping him so he doesn't have to work hard and tense his face to close his left eye.
Had been shooting very well, but 2 misses in a row for Chukovskis. And away in under 18 seconds. Belaud going well as well. Away in under 12. So he'll have closed the gap somewhat on Chukovskis. Joe Evans away as well. Great shoot so far by Timoshenko, who's brought himself back into contention, or Ukraine back into contention for a medal with an excellent shoot. Good shoot by the USA as well.
And it looks like it's down to the top 4 now. There's or some picking up the wrong gun on the wrong table. That just hampered Great Britain's Joe Evans there.
Well, it hampered the Frenchman as well.
It's an easy mistake to make, actually. It sounds silly, but you know, the guns all look very similar. You've just got to remember your number and run to that.
Tchaikovsky's lead has been cut, and Belaud is going very well. He's closing all the time. I think Tchaikovsky's just had a brief look over his shoulder. The battle is on for gold and silver at the moment.
And bronze, obviously, we've got Joe Evans closing them down, who will have fresher legs, having not competed in the final, who have made the most of that rest that he's got on his fellow competitors here.
Pavel Timoshenko trying to make up ground on Joe Evans. The final female athletes competes, of course. Tchaikovsky's in the lead.
And just one final shoot to go, and then it'll be that final 800-meter lap of the running course to conclude this combined event.
Still everything to play for. And Belaud really has made up a lot of ground on Denis Tchaikovsky's.
As has Timoshenko, just passing Great Britain's Joe Evans there, coming into their second shoot.
Well, Timoshenko very good at the combined. But again, Joe Evans does have the fresher legs. Good run by the USA as well. So it's all going to come down to this final shoot.
Frenchman's made sure he's gone to the correct shooting position this time, not wasting any time picking up his gun. And that's another method. He's got sunglasses with a darkened lens to help with his focusing on the sights with that one eye.
This is getting very tense now. And the Frenchman away, and I think he's probably the quicker over the flat. Tchaikovsky can't get this shot away, but Joe Evans.
That's Great Britain away in silver medal position at the moment.
Timoshenko away as well.
Chased down by Timoshenko, and Latvia eventually, Denis got that final shot, but gosh, he spent a long time on the range there.
But it's France well out in the lead. Just waiting for you see the reaction from Yelena Rublievska. Seeing their hopes of a medal.
The hopes of the medal currently are being chased down by Timoshenko, who's just about to.
But look at Belaud go. Well, it's quite some confidence, but he's opened up such a huge lead. Look at him go.
I can't say I've seen someone take the French flag or any nation's flag 500 meters or so before the finish.
But what a battle hotting up for the other medals. Tchaikovsky's and Timoshenko neck and neck for third, making up a lot of ground on Joe Evans.
This is going to be a race for the lesser medals here. Gold is decided for the Frenchmen, but it's these last couple of bends.
Tchaikovsky's in third, Joe Evans in second, Timoshenko falling behind slightly. But it's
final corner. And these athletes
and
now.
it's a full sprint on now. Joe Evans pulling away.
Look at that for a sprint finish. That is impressive from Joe Evans. Those fresh legs. He's going to take that silver medal position for Great Britain. Gold here.
Gold is won by Valentin Belaud. Joe Evans crossing the line with a great sprint finish to pick up second place. Denis Tchaikovsky is just about holding on for third. And Pavel Timoshenko in fourth place. Jubilation for the French, for Elodie, Clouvel and Valentin Belaud. Well, it's been an excellent championships. Well, it's been an excellent season really for the French. Had a number of athletes really have breakout seasons, and they really do like a strong team to beat over the next few years. Great result from Joe Evans as well.
It's a great result for both of those countries. Yesterday we saw Great Britain women winning the gold medal. We saw
the French men winning the team gold as well. So that's, you know, showing what a tight competition is between the French and the British at the moment.
Slightly dejected Denis Tchaikovskis walking away. All really came down to that final shoot where we only got away in 30 seconds, but I don't think there was going to be any catching Valentin Belaud with an absolutely stunning finish.
I was impressed with that running. He must be so tired.
What moment was crucial today during this combine?
This combine, repeat please.
What moment was crucial? What's the crucial moment of this race?
The crucial moment in the shooting, in the last shooting, because I'm first place. Perhaps don't good shooting. Ladia, Joe Evans is very hard shooting and good shooting. Today it's another day.
Just amazing. It's fantastic. It's incredible.
But when you finish it, it seems you are not tired.
No, yes, because the last run is very easy because I have 1,000 meter advance with second place.
Okay, thanks so
Good
much.
fencing, good swimming, the exceptional grading, and the combine. It's just Valentin's very good, and my shooting is so bad, but Elodie is not finished. Go, and it's fantastic.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jubilation for the French. Richly deserved victory for them. A nation in very good health when it comes to the modern pentathlon. How much the boost will that give Joe Evans' career? I mean, Sam Murray's won medals in the past. Joe very
It'll be great. I mean, Joe burst onto the scene at the first World Cup this year, winning that amazing bronze medal in his debut appearance at the senior level, and hasn't got back on the podium since. So this is going to be great for him, having just missed out on the making the final. Those fresh legs really showed on that strong sprint he had there to not give Denis Tchaikovskis a chance of catching him.
But really, the French get the victory they deserved. Disappointment though for Tchaikovskis. Won so well in Nizhny Novgorod. In the World Cup final, but just confirmation of the medals. Gold going to France, silver to Great Britain, and bronze to Latvia. And from myself, Richard van Poortvliet.
And myself, Heather Fell.
Well, thanks ever so much for joining us. It's been a wonderful 3 days of competition. From the 2013 World Modern Pentathlon Championships in Taiwan, it's goodbye for now.
Goodbye.